Hello and welcome to the RZNGMEN Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. Super Tuesdays right here on WKBY 1080 AM out of Chatham, Virginia, and also on the RZNGMENShow.com. Also welcoming us again to the Remnant Media family of products. So keep praying for us. We're excited for what the Lord is doing in our lives. Right back into the series that we're in right now, Our Story, talking about our first year. I've got my two youngest sons in studio along with my 17-year-old in studio, talking about where we are, where we've been, and how they felt that they've come through going into this eighth year. Eight is the number of new beginnings. So we've been through completion, now we're into the new. Where are you at in your journey of grief and discovery? Are you in the new? Are you going through? Are you completing? Or are you running from it? Grief is no real way to do it right. It's just a way to do it wrong. And the wrong way to do it is not to embrace it, not to go through it, and to avoid it. And we don't want to do that. We want to share our story, which is a message of hope. Right back into the series. Hit us up on social media and let us know if it's worth it. Should we continue? Should we not share? We're going to do it for us because we know this is what we're called to do. But should we do it for you? But she would always, I don't remember, she would always say, oh, this cancer, this illness I've got is not unto death. Not unto death. I'm going to be healed. I'm good. But it was always something that, in fact, I remember the day I threw it away because we were preparing to move from that house. And that was one of the first things I grabbed to throw away.
Why is that?
Because I remember the prep for that book and the amount of effort that she already knew that she needed to put in to make sure that we were taken care of. Yes, sir.
Were you there when she died?
No, I was not.
Where were you? I
was home. It was like 5:30-ish or 5-ish in the morning, and I got a call from Jackie Johnson. She was one of the people that was there also. And she called me, and I'll never forget that call, because when people have good news for you, they never call you and wake you up to tell you good news. Yeah, 5 o'clock. Nothing good happens after midnight.
They'll let you sleep and then call you in the morning.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I won the lottery. Call me at 2 or 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
You split with me or no?
Exactly. No, it's always tragedy when folks, call and wake you up and think they have the reason to. And there was a reason. Your granddad was there too, because at that point he had come.
Do you think he knew too?
No, wait, let me go back. That memory's fuzzy. No, he was not there at that point. He was not. So the day that I got the call that when Mom died from Jackie, the words were, she's gone. They called it. She's dead.
How did she know?
She was there. She and Cassia were there in the room.
You had to wear masks there.
Because the amount of chemotherapy or cancer-killing radiation treatment that your mom was getting, her body could no longer fight off basic germs. Or if one of us had a cold, she would kill her. Safe. It was to keep her safe.
That's what I remember.
Yep, it was to keep her safe.
We were training for COVID.
We were training. Yeah, that's wild. We did wear gloves. We used to have to wear the gowns. We used to have to wear the masks.
Because I remember whenever the first I went there, the lady said, make sure you put these on to keep her safe. To keep her safe.
Yep. She had radiation from her skull down to her waist because they were trying to, while she laid flat so they could kill this cancer in her back. And they were putting, chemotherapy into her spine directly as well, flushing it through there. But, that was, and it basically was making her body stop functioning in an effort to kill the cancer, to try to help let your body heal enough to get back on its feet. It's funny you said that. I never thought about the COVID part.
What? I had to elaborate on the people in the house.
Mm-hmm.
How did you tell us, and what was our reaction to when he told us? Or did we not really?
There was a reaction.
Oh, go ahead.
We talked about part of it last time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's funny because with Brian and Caeden being here, that was one of the stories that we first told, because we had we didn't have that group conversation the day she died, We had that group conversation probably.
I think she'd have been dead a few days.
No, not that one. That group conversation came about a month or less before.
Which one?
The one where
when everybody's in the house.
No, she'd been passed on, but
because we had to have that conversation with you guys, because the conversation with everybody at the house, because that was the conversation to tell everybody that she wasn't coming home again. That wasn't so the first conversation we had several months prior, before she went to Loma Linda, was in like August when we were prepping. This conversation was like January, because we had spent Thanksgiving and Christmas in Loma Linda, because Thanksgiving we made the whole fried turkey, we took it all up there, card table, everything. Kesha made sides, we made stuff, and the whole us shuttling back and forth with stuff. Christmas, we didn't bring any food, because she told us not to. Don't bring any food like that. I'm good. And then we just wound up at Ken and Doris's house afterwards for dinner when we finally came through. Because there was somebody that was looking to meet us over there, and we were going to meet somebody. I think, I don't know who we were going to meet somebody.
And it might have been Uncle Chase.
Either that or Marshall's current wife. We were going to meet somebody special.
Probably Marshall when they were dating at first.
Yeah, Tiana. I think we were supposed to meet Tiana over there.
Yeah, that was it. I remember on Doris.
Oh, meet her at
Ken's house.
Oh, yeah. I think you're talking about at the hospital.
No.
That's
My fault. My fault.
Yeah, I think that's who it was.
And Kasha stayed at the hospital with her for Christmas. So when we had this meeting, I had already been wrestling with the doctors. I had 2 serious meetings with the doctors, where the doctors was like, because your mom didn't know how sick she was. Not from a pure medical, this is what your prognosis was. I wouldn't let the doctors tell her. And so, she believed that she was going to be healed and come home. And the first meeting, I got them to be shook off and they left me alone. The second meeting, they said, we have to tell her, because by us prolonging this, we're violating patient health information. Though you're her husband, she's the patient. We have to tell her, even if you don't like it, we have got to tell her the truth.
How much do you think would have changed if you told her that you heard that she wasn't going to make it through it from the beginning?
I think it would have changed a lot, because I think she would have given up her will to fight, to hang on as long as she did. Because for the amount of pain she went through, and to believe that you're not going to make it, I think it would have changed everything. So where Caeden is at, I shared earlier that I believed that the Lord had told me that she was not coming home. So I already knew from the very first time that the doctor was telling us that she was, what kind of cancer she had, and she was going to be okay. And, oh yeah, Mr. Carlisle, if you had to pick a cancer to have, this is the cancer you want to have. Don't worry about it. Long life, don't worry about it. She may get it a couple times, but she'll be fine. So from that moment in March, I had started to grieve. So I already knew she was going to die and we were going to be on our own. And to get to that point where the doctors are now telling me that we have got to tell her that the only time she'll come home is if we send her on hospice care. Hospice care means they send a patient home
with a nurse
with
after them.
Yes, and it's just a comfort provider. They're not allowed to provide them any IV stuff, no painkillers that require needles, and if they can't eat for themselves, by the time a lot of them can't feed themselves. Well, not a lot. It's not true. In Mom's case, she could feed herself, yes, but it hurt to eat because she had the radiation that basically burned her esophagus, so it hurt to swallow, and she wasn't tasting the real taste of the food, so food did not interest her a lot. So she was losing weight really fast, and so the only thing that was keeping her, hydrated and basically functioning was the IV fluid she was getting. And I don't know if you guys remember the stuff that was hanging on the bag, that gold bag of stuff that was hanging there that she was getting, and she was getting blood transfusions and platelets. So that was all prolonging her body, the stuff they were giving her. And so that day, I remember, we're talking about that meeting, I called ahead and we assembled everybody who could come. They said, stop what you're doing, break glass, we got to go. We have to have this conversation. I went to Brandon and Ashley's place first to tell Shane. So we told Shane first that Mom was not coming home again. And so...
What was Shane's reaction?
Oh, he cried. He cried. It was... I knew I had to tell him first because he was the oldest, you know, and I needed him to be settled. I needed him to take as much time as he needed to get whatever question he may have. Because at that point, you know, he was 17.
Because you said she died on the day before Shane's 18th birthday, right? Yep.
And my concern was...
Did you tell Shane on it the day before or the day she died, or wait?
He knew, but...
no, it was the same.
The day that Dad told us that she wasn't coming back, Dad told Shane before they all came.
I don't remember what that day was. Was that the same day she died, or was it after?
No, it was before.
It was before she died. It was when Dad told us that she wasn't coming back.
Oh.
Right, so it was like a month or less. Because that... In fact, it was less than a month, because when that time... Right about that time, I started making preparations because Miss Sharon had given me the idea that we would have Shane's graduation in Mom's room. So that's why that started taking place really quick, because we weren't sure how much time she had left, because the doctors weren't going to do anything more for her. And the doctors wanted to send her home basically to die. And I had to make sure that, for one, we knew what was happening. And so to answer your question, after what did Shane say? So Shane's question for me was, would I still be his dad? Because I had not adopted Shane, because Shane's dad was not going to allow that. We didn't ask him, but we knew that Neil was not going to have that. We just knew. And it wasn't because of me not wanting to adopt him or anything. We just knew that Neil was trying his best to at least stay so connected to Shane enough, though it never was enough for us. It wasn't. And it wasn't because he did anything wrong. It was just, Shane's a great kid. He's a great young man. And for his dad to basically have not been around for so many years, there was never really going to be enough that he probably ever could do to make us feel like, oh yeah, he's a great inspiration, and that's just, yay, But over the years, in fact, let's skip this put a pin right there and just tell this quick story. After Mom died and I got a chance to interact with Neil more, it takes me back to when I first met Neil over the phone after Mom and I got married, and we moved into the Marietta house before you guys were all born. And I used to remember I was talking to him on the phone and said, look, I want to make sure that you know who I am, because I'm the guy who's going to be raising your son. And I need you to know that I'm not going to do anything to hurt your son. If you ever want to come and see your son, you're always welcome. I said, but I'm going to treat him like I'm going to treat any of my own sons, which I didn't have at that time. I only had him. I said, but you, because I'd asked to speak to him a lot before, and he wouldn't make time for me. I don't know. Eventually I want to ask Neil why that was. But I just knew, had I had some other man that's going to be raising my kids, I want to know who you are. I want to get your phone number. I need to know where my kid is. I need to make sure you're not doing nothing. I need to make sure that you know that if you do something to my kid, I'm coming for you. But that's the mindset I had. So when we told Shane, I wanted to make sure he knew where we were as a relationship, as a father-son. And when Shane went after, we just sat there listening, he asked me, will I still be his dad? And I was like, well, of course, yeah. It's just going to make our relationship that much stronger. Nothing changes. We're still there. And so we came to the house, and when I began to tell that, the room already knew, except for you guys. And that was really the sick joke we were talking about the last week, because everybody had been in the house before I got there, right? And to you all, it might have just said, oh, it's cool, everybody's here, that's kind of cool, right? But for the reason why they were there was just unfortunate. And I'll never forget when I told you guys that she wasn't coming home, you screamed.
I did?
Yeah. I'll never forget the sound. I don't even want to try to even reproduce it, but all you did was yell. And it was just, to me, it filled the house. And it tore me apart because it was like, there was no way that anybody could ever do anything to make you stop crying. And there's nobody was ever going to try to make you stop crying because that was your mom and you were the youngest one. And you were always closer to her than you were to me. And you were the only one of your brothers that when I would come into a room and leave a room, that you wouldn't respond. If she would leave a room or come in the room, you were reaching for her. That you were her son. The rest of y'all, please. I'd come in a room, leave a room. If you all were coming in with me, you would be leaving with me. And that's just the way things were. Even with Shane, and he was 5 when I got him. He and I spent a lot of time making sure I bonded with him. And your mom and I had talked when we were still in the Marietta house before you or Evan were born. She told me, she says, nothing better not ever happen to you and I in marriage or you can't die early because I can't raise these kids. They don't respond to me like they respond to you. So I don't know why that is, but they just do not respond to me. So not even Shane. Shane don't even respond to me like he responds to you. And you're not even his real father. And I was like, well, I don't know why that is, but I've always been present with you guys from day one.
Wait, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Till to this day, you haven't fully adopted Shane?
I couldn't. No. So the answer would be no.
I was going to ask the same question. Were you able to ever adopt Shane?
No.
Could you go to court for it? I'm not saying do it, but I'm just saying.
You cannot now because he's over 18. So that's key. When you're over 18, you're a legal adult. Only thing you cannot do is legally buy alcohol, which is stupid because you can go to the military.
Buy alcohol.
Military and get trained to kill people.
Exactly.
But you can't drink alcohol.
Yeah, to dull the pain of killing another man. But I can vote for people who I don't really know or understand. I can kill people. I can go to prison, big man prison, but I can't buy alcohol.
That doesn't really make much sense.
Not make any sense at all. But
in like other countries like United Kingdom, you can drink at like the age of 18 or something like that.
And in some cases less. You can drive at like 13, depending on what you're doing, depending on the situation, right? If you're kind of in the outback and stuff like that. But I mean, it just depends. But for us, when you started crying, everyone else began, I think, to realize what was happening. Because everybody, I think, still kind of thought in a hopeful way, because we're kids, right? Mm-hmm. That she was coming home eventually. No one expected her not to ever come back home. That was never in the plan that anybody had. So that became hard. But then the day she died, though, I think you asked the question. That day, Shane was the only one of the kids who went with me to the hospital. And I let him go because he was the oldest one. And I didn't want... My fault if that makes any of you feel some kind of way. But I didn't know how to process what to do with a 4, 6, 7 and 8 year old.
Yes.
Yeah.
How
going to the hospital. I just could not imagine you all looking at her body that last week. I could not wrap my head around that. And talk about hospice care, the doctors wanted to send her home. So I think you asked me too something about if it would have made a difference had she known earlier. Had Mom died before Shane turned, or close, any sooner than Shane turning 18 the following morning, I would not have. Only thing I could have done for him legally. Well, legally I couldn't have done anything for him. He was on my medical insurance because his mom said it was okay. But if Shane had gone to the hospital, if we had had an accident, the hospital couldn't do anything for him but stabilize him until Neil came there present to give his consent for medical care.
What happened with Shane's siblings? Like, not us, but like Cameron and Colin.
What happened to them?
Like, were they there?
No. They were not there. We knew of Cameron. Yes,
We had met
then.
Cameron
Yes,
once
you're
or
right.
twice.
Yeah, before then. Yes, I think a year or so before that. A year or two.
It was funny. What's it called?
When they put the blindfold on her.
Well, no. Well, I don't remember that part, but I remember when she was there. Someone said, I think it was you or someone introduced her to us, and they're like, "This is Shane's sister."
Yeah.
And then we were all like, "Well, if it's Shane's sister and Shane's our brother, she's our sister too." So
Yeah.
I don't. And like, I think someone was trying to like tell us, is like, "No,
Well,
she's not your sister." I was like, "Well, she's Shane's sister, so I don't see how that. Like, I don't get it." And then I remember someone said that she was really moved how like already connected we were to her.
Yeah, Mom told that story because when she came to the house the very first time in Menifee, and we introduced her Mom introduced her as Shane's sister. Everybody, y'all kind of looked at her and looked at each other
Like, do we have a secret sister they didn't tell us about?
right,
Yeah, I was like, why have we never met her before though?
right. And the way I got the story was after that whole conversation had taken place. It's almost like y'all kind of like got together. The four of you was like pulled Mom to the side, like, okay, we don't get it. How come? And just like you told it.
I think it was me and like Ryan, or I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah. So she tells me, she goes, well, they just pretty much asked us if that's Shane's sister, then, and Shane's our brother, right? And we're like, yeah, that means that Cameron's our sister, right? And she was trying to explain, well, no, because
I'm hard headed, so it's like that's where I think one way, and it's going to be difficult to make me think a different way.
but your logic was still truthful. But that was the first day you guys had ever heard that I was not Shane's real dad.
We didn't even know Shane wasn't biologically related to us for a while.
Well, he is biologically related to you.
Half.
Half.
Fully related to.
Right.
But
Same parent.
Right.
we still the same mom, so that's good enough.
Right. So that was different there than at any, other point. But
Just drag it up; it'll be in the mute thing.
yeah, I'm trying. Okay, sorry about that. But that was a different kind of time. But like I said, Cameron she was always excited to see you guys and to be a part of you guys. Even hearing from her now, she's always excited to hear. But she was not there during that conversation.
Did we ever really get it then?
Huh?
Did we ever really get it then?
Yeah.
Never
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
her
yeah.
sister, or technically wasn't her sister.
I don't
think it never. I mean, we already like assimilated her into the group, so it was like kind of too late for us to click. And even then, it was like, well, I mean, we already like her, so I don't really see a reason to kick her out.
Yeah, and she's good people. She's good people.
Kind of felt like the ringleader, and I was like, I think I probably said it out loud, and then the rest was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody just got away with it. Yeah. When you think about where we are now after these 8 years, what do you think about?
How much different people we are. I mean, of course, we're 8 years older, but in terms of how it's changed us, and we've shaped into different people through the different things we've learned and how we've dealt with what it's given us, both the good and the bad parts of it.
Yeah.
You kind of see and look back how you just got to see the growth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Evan, you've been mighty silent.
Dad, I got a question. I can't remember. Hold on. Yeah, I can't remember. Never mind.
Do you guys remember going to class and stuff after?
No.
What's it called?
I don't really remember.
Was I even in school? Sorry. Was I in school?
You were in preschool.
I don't really remember much. I don't really remember after that day. Everything kind of just feels like nothing, and then I kind of pop back into reality, and then
When? What's your
like,
first?
it goes from the day when it starts from when we were jumping from back and forth to the garage to the office, and then everything disappears, and then it goes to sometime in like 3rd grade or sometime hanging out with Zeke and Rowan outside.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to do that a lot, hanging out with Zeke and Rowan. Because Zeke was on the street
He was on the same street, like.
I mean, everybody. I'm pretty sure everybody was on the same street because it all just.
No. I was just trying to remember. Was Zeke on the street before when Mom was alive?
So, the only person I can remember that I knew and that I know that knew Mom for sure
was Rowan.
No, was David Jager, because I met him in preschool, and we were friends in preschool, and then I went to his house and Mom picked me up from his house, and then met. Because I remember that David's mom said that she knew our mom.
Yeah, there's so many different things and so many different ways and shapes and memories that are lost and things that we wish we could get back. And that's one thing I wanted to share with everyone that listens to our story, and we sit here and reminisce as a family about the things that we did know, don't know, remember, don't remember, as we start to get certain the facts jumbled and put out of place. What I want folks to understand is that you've got to make the most of every day that you possibly can, because you're not guaranteed a do-over. You're not entitled to have every bit of moment or the last piece of cake that you may have wanted, the last hug that you wanted to get that you thought you could get later. Only thing that's guaranteed is that we're going to all die at some point. You're going to see God again, and whether or not you stay with him in heaven or you stay on and go on to that extra hot place, that's up to you and how you live your life. But I knew these particular days would come when my children couldn't remember details about their mom. They couldn't remember what their mother's voice sounded like, or they couldn't remember, what she did with them, or a holiday or a place we went together, or things like that. But what they'll never forget is the fact that she loved them viciously. And I don't want to say viciously in a negative sense, but she loved them passionately. She loved them viciously. She loved hard, and she made sure that these boys knew that no matter if she was there today, tomorrow, or gone the next, that they knew exactly who she was to them, their mother. And that's all that's important right now. And that's why we should always tell the ones that matter that you love them. Now, granted, there's some folks that don't matter, and we have to love them with the love of the Lord, that agape love, that love that you have for Christ and Christ alone. So we've got to love everybody in that manner, but you don't have to be in community with everyone, because not everyone is healthy. It's not everyone's time to take your time and to occupy space in your mind. But that's for another series, another day. This is the Raising Men Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. See you next week.